This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams of.
That is true. And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living. We're so glad you're here.
Definitely. We've been excited to do this for a long time, and so we're finally kicking it off. This is episode 1. Why don't you come along for the journey?
So, Tim, what's been going on lately?
Oh, boy. Well, I think the obvious is it's a moment of transition for me in my professional life. So trying to figure out what's next in the world and what I really want to do with my life. So
That's
big
exciting.
decisions.
That's very exciting. For me, we only have one at home right now, so that's a big deal. I think it was funny last night when we looked up and we're like, oh, okay, so I guess we have to feed ourselves because there's nobody left in the house.
Right.
So
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
So today we're going to share about how we met.
And we're going to answer the big question, which is, does Denise ever really say anything nice?
So let's get into it. So here's the short version. I moved to Seattle from here in Arizona, and we both worked at Eddie Bauer.
True.
There was a boat involved. I got lost, and then I met you.
That's definitely the short version. There's a lot in between. So at Eddie Bauer, I was responsible for management training sessions where we bring in brand new store managers from across the country and train them in a 5-day session on how to be an Eddie Bauer store manager. And as part of that, we would take them out for fun activities. And one of those fun activities happened to be a boat cruise on Lake Washington. So if you know the Seattle area, Lake Washington is a beautiful lake. It's a great opportunity to get out on the water, see some great sights. But in order to do that, you have to have everybody on the boat before you depart the dock. And there was one person in particular that we were waiting for, one person that I had never met. I only knew by name. Everybody told me she was close, she was coming, she was almost at the dock, she was almost there, but almost turned out to be 45 minutes late. So I literally held the boat for this person named Denise. And when she finally got on the boat, we departed, and I had a chance to meet her for the very first time. Her response to me was, "So you're Tim Waters," while looking me up and down and trying to, I guess, size me up and determine if she really wanted to meet me, how she felt about me. I don't know what the look was. So maybe you can explain the look or exactly what was going on in your head at that moment.
So we'll take you back. It's 1997.
Correct.
So no cell phones. So I couldn't call and say I was lost. I couldn't get to a map and figure out where I was going. And if you have ever been to Seattle, it is not easy to navigate the waterfront and bridges and all of those things. I was new in town. I had moved up from Arizona to take a job in the communications area at Eddie Bauer, and these store managers were in town, and somebody said, "Oh, Tim takes the managers out on a cruise. You should go. You should see Seattle." So we emailed back and forth, and I was like, "Great, I'll come." And backstory. I had been a store manager previously in Eddie Bauer.
No, I know where this is going.
And I had requested from somebody at corporate a manager training notebook. And the person I had requested that from was one, Tim Waters. And lo and behold, that manual never showed up. So when I finally moved to Seattle, it was in the back of my head that I was going to finally meet this guy and be like, "Dude, do you even know how to do your job?" And so that was the first thing that came to my mind when I met you. I didn't realize I was 45 minutes late. That may become a theme.
That's definitely a theme in our marriage.
And so when I met you, I was like, so you're the guy who didn't give me the manual. And that was where I was kind of like at that very moment.
And that was the start of what turned into a friendship, although a rocky start to a friendship, and then eventually a marriage that almost 25 years later is still going strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's one more instance that comes up good here. We probably should share the engagement story too.
Yet another time when you said something, I don't know if I would classify it as being unkind. I think it was just maybe a little flip in the moment, or in hindsight turned out to be a little bit flippant. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
So my lovely wife left Eddie Bauer and went to T-Mobile, which was at the time called VoiceStream Wireless, a smallish regional
Yep.
wireless carrier based in Bellevue, Washington, and had just been acquired by T-Mobile, a German
Deutsche
telecommunications
Telekom.
company. So was in the midst of a marketing rebranding, turning this company from T-Mobile, or from VoiceStream Wireless, into T-Mobile, and as a result of that was spending inordinate amounts of money across the country on marketing efforts, marketing events, and one of those happened to be in New York City. So at the end of that, I flew to New York City to spend a little bit of time with you in the city to kind of help you rest, relax, recharge after this major New York event. Um, I We had been dating for a while,
Yeah.
and at that point had decided that I wanted to ask you to marry me, and felt like New York was a perfect place to do it.
We'd been dating a couple years at that point.
We had.
And so we knew each other pretty well. And it was probably hard to get anything past me. I had no idea the engagement was coming.
Yeah.
Zero idea. But because Tim was coming to New York, a city I loved, I went and got some things. I bought a couple touristy books. I went to Tiffany and got a cigar case engraved, and had all of these things ready for when he came to New York. And so I remember that moment. I was in our hotel room. I was fussing with my hair and I had given you the things. And I like turned around and I was like, so what do you bring to this relationship? And I turned back to like fuss or do something else. And
And I can't necessarily paint the picture of the hotel room, but it was a fairly smallish hotel room. And I was standing on one side of the bed while she was, again, making this comment about, what do you bring to the relationship? And so for some reason, that felt like the right moment. It felt like the appropriate moment. I dove across the bed, rummaged in my luggage, all while she had her back to me and fixing her hair or doing something, um, and pulled out the box. And it happened to be a Tiffany box. So then when she turned around, I was standing there with a sheepish grin on my face, holding this box. And I said, "What about this?"
so it was kind of the perfect engagement for my snarkiness.
It was. It's one of the only times I think I've seen you completely at a loss for words and completely put in your place, which I think was more gratifying than you saying yes to marrying me. I think it was the look on your face.
Yeah, that's fair. So, can you tell me about what happened between that snarky boat comment and the snarky ring comment that got us here? Like, what was something that allowed us to stay together between that summer day, 1997, to that September day in 2000?
Hmm. I don't think it wasn't. I don't think there was big events. I think it was maybe, I don't know if it's typical of how relationships unfold, but I think for me, it was mostly about spending time together. It was about getting to know each other as people, and not just you're my girlfriend at the time, and how do you behave, or how do you fit with me as a girlfriend. It was, how do you fit with me as a human, as a partner in a relationship. And I think that that comes from having at least an idea of what you want in a partner
Mm,
out of a relationship. And for me, it was somebody that was um, an equal. It was somebody that was not afraid to challenge me.
mm.
Although it was uncomfortable, the ways that you stretched me outside of my comfort zone, that was important. I think helping me see different things, turning over new leaves in certain areas, and not major life changes, but like, let's travel spur of the moment. That was new for me. Let's get on a plane and go someplace. And the uncomfortable situation that that put me in was a chance for me to grow and stretch and kind of open up. And so I think that's really the big thing for me was understanding this truly is a partner in my life. This is somebody who will stretch me, grow me, and make me a better version of myself than maybe I was at the time. So that was, I think, and again, it wasn't a major moment. It was something that unfolded over the course of those couple of years of our dating relationship.
Yeah. And what about the snark?
What about the snark?
Do I always show up like that?
Yes.
Or, oh,
Yes.
oh, I don't see it that way always. So,
Well, let me stop you for 1 second, and now's a good time to maybe talk about some of our family rules.
mm,
One of our family rules is that sarcasm is not a parenting tool, but should also apply to a relationship. But I think there's times definitely when you default to sarcasm, when you default to snark, and not in a mean way. And I know that, and I understand that now. But the snark was, I think, the very first uh, pushback, for lack of a better
yeah,
term. Like that was maybe not letting me get away with my BS
yeah.
or pushing back against that real quick.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because I think that the reason we're here 25 years later um, is that idea that we're equal in the relationship,
Hmm.
that nobody has more than the other. And we can talk about that 50%, 100%. Now you show up at different time, but that idea that I could be completely myself without having to put something on. And really, that this relationship started as a friendship.
Hmm.
And I would be snarky to my friends. And if I was dating, I don't know if I always did that. And so it maybe was that first relationship where I felt 100% able to just show up as who I was, which is pretty cool.
Indeed.
So I feel like those are good stories, Tim. Let's go into a couple questions about the stories, about that story to kind of round it out. Part of this reason why we're doing the podcast is for other people who are in relationships to be able to ask questions of each other and
Hmm.
really build their connection with each other. And so I think we can rule out the question about what did you first think about me. But maybe go back in time and think about what's a detail about me that still stands out from those early days.
Mm. From the early days. I think the thing that has remained a big part of who you are over the course of our relationship has been your family and your family dynamics.
Mm,
And I think what that, how that shapes your view of relationships, how that shapes your view of our marriage, how it shapes your view of our parenting style and our own family. Um, Neither good nor bad, not, basing it on what should be or what is a perfect relationship. But I think that's a fairly common theme. And I think that was a common theme from the very beginning
mhm.
of our relationship. I think one of the very first conversations I had when we were maybe not dating, almost dating, was me meeting your mom over the phone and understanding exactly who your mom was and how that relationship worked, and have just continued to kind of see how that impacts our own relationship over the years. So
Yeah, she hadn't met you in person, and yet
no.
she still would rather talk to you
Yes.
than um,
Yeah.
when hard things need to be said.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure. There's a lot there with those family dynamics. Hmm.
What about you for me? This isn't all just about you.
Fair enough. I think one of the things that I think about from those early days is um, how buttoned up you were, right? Like there was a way to do things and you nailed those things. And I threw that for a loop and you were always willing to play along. And so from outside, I think people would see you as very buttoned up, but then on the inside of our relationship, it was always fun. And we always found a way to like have a good time. And within those first couple of years that we were dating, before we were dating, when we the time period, our, our time period's a little weird, but that's okay. Nobody needs to care about that. Um, when we met and then we were friends for a long time and then we started dating, but in that window before we got married, you went to boot camp. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can understand that there was a buttoned upness about you. Um, and yet there was also a playful side. And so I think that's what I always go back to because I can't even now, like if I were giving advice to my former self, like, would you marry somebody who was super buttoned up and was in the military and all of that? Like, I can't see that for myself. And yet, that's exactly what I did.
Hmm.
And I'm super happy with that decision.
Yeah, that's been, I think, a point, common point of feedback
Mm,
in our relationship has been about me being very buttoned up, and I don't know what that's about.
mm.
So I'm not sure. Maybe it's. I mean, we can explore that on a different podcast, maybe. But why is Tim buttoned up versus his private life? And I don't. I have no idea. Like I don't know why I show up a certain way in public versus in private, and how I am a different person at different times. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you toggle really well, right? We talked about those manager sessions when we
Mhm.
first met at Eddie Bauer, and you would toggle between the person who was organizing it, putting it on, and then the cheerleader, fireside chat, Tim Waters, who would bring store managers to tears at that final event when they got to celebrate the end of their week-long training. So I think it is less actually being buttoned up and just being reserved, and an unfolding and willingness to be your true self in front of
Mm.
everybody versus being a little bit more guarded. I
Maybe
have
it's just applying different things to the moment, like what's appropriate in the moment versus who I normally would be.
oh, I love that appropriate word because I don't know it. I don't play well with appropriate, but that's okay. I feel good about that. Do you have any
Okay.
questions for me about
Mm, if you could go back and give yourself advice before our first date, what would it
just not be so crazy?
be?
I mean, I always whether it's the snark or even like our first like weekend away, we went away to Oregon and I was like, I'm not driving across that bridge
Mm.
and stopped the car, got out of the car and let you drive the car across the bridge because I was so afraid of the bridge. Like, you don't have to be so dramatic about everything. Like I could have like toned it down a little bit is I would say.
It was very dramatic, but in all fairness, the bridge was a pretty big bridge high above the water. So I get that. And here's what I would say about, did you call it crazy?
Oh yeah.
Uh, what I agree with that in certain times. It feels crazy. But what I would say is maybe a more appropriate way to describe it is being authentic.
Mm,
So there's never any question of what I'm getting with you.
mm,
There's no um, hiding your your fears, your your opinions, your that just doesn't happen with you. So I think you might term it crazy, and I know that that's just a joking term,
yeah.
but it's also authentic. It's being real. It's just who you are and letting that show to people. So,
Yeah. That's true.
and then people have to make the decision: is this what I want
Right.
from you in this moment, or need from you in this moment? And I think that's one area where I've learned over our relationship to potentially push back against that. Not what you're saying, maybe about how you're saying it or what I need in the
Mm.
moment. Right now, what I need is XYZ. And I think you modeled that pretty early in our relationship when I learned that if you come to me with a bad day story, you're not looking for advice. You're not looking for me to solve the problem. You're looking for me. And we always joke about this term of poor sweet baby, but you're looking for me to poor sweet baby you,
Yeah.
to listen, to be the shoulder to cry on, and then we can move on with it. And I've used that um, tool, I think, more to then push back and say, here's what I need in the
Yeah.
moment as well.
Yeah. So I think for both of us, it's that authenticity piece,
Hmm.
right? Like, who are we and how we're showing up based on what we need and feel in that moment,
Yeah,
which is
agreed.
important.
Agreed.
Awesome. Well, those are fun. It makes me realize how learning and talking about things reveals so much about us that kind of goes without being said.
Indeed. So that brings us to our mini moment, for lack of a better term. So something quick that we're enjoying this week, something that maybe has resonated with us, something just straight up funny, inspiring. You can apply whatever term you want to it, but um, what is that for you?
Who goes first? What if we say the same thing?
Well, I think that's okay.
Okay.
I think it can be inspiring for both of us. And
Yeah,
if I can't think of anything, I reserve the right to say what you said.
fair
So,
enough. Okay, so what is inspiring me this week? I'm going to talk about volleyball. Volleyball is making my heart happy this
mhm,
week. We we were a baseball family forever.
from the beginning.
20 years. I mean,
Yeah.
20 years that we took our own kids to play, but
Yeah.
we've been baseball forever. We had Mariner season tickets
Yeah.
before we had kids. Like, baseball is our thing.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, baseball is not our personal private thing at our house, and volleyball is.
In fact, we just got the email yesterday about the baseball parent meeting at the high school that we're not going to
The
for the first time in
20
a
years.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have kids in high school for 20 years, but felt like it.
Right. It did.
um, so last spring, Mason, the day before baseball tryouts, decided Mason's our youngest child. We have 3 boys. We didn't talk about that at all, which is good for us.
Mm.
Um, our youngest son decided not to go out for the high school baseball team and switched to volleyball at the very last minute, which was awesome because volleyball was my sport. And I tried not to look him in the eye and scare him away from it. And he has since, in however many months that is, May, June, July, August. Oh, it was before May though. January.
Yeah.
8 months, has switched to be a volleyball player. And this week, he made both the inaugural beach team at his high school and the club team that he wanted to make without any drama. And it has been such a breath of fresh air. He has friends on the team. The parents are lovely. The coach was amazing. The meeting lasted 15 minutes. It just is bringing me joy because it just shows me that kids' sports don't have to be dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. I think that's and not just because of what it's doing for Mason, but I think what it does for us. And it shows us that, to your point, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be all consuming.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be worrying. Like, there's a lot of nerve wracking parts of playing baseball over the years
Yeah,
for all of our kids.
I think we should do a whole episode on being baseball parents
Oh, yeah. We need
because
to,
we have a lot of advice.
yeah, hang on tight for that one. Hmm,
Okay.
that's a good one.
What's making you happy or inspired this week?
I'm gonna take the latter of those two words and maybe even throw in inspired slash learning
Mm.
this week. So we mentioned at the beginning, I'm in the middle of transition at work, my professional life, and it's taken me, gosh, a long time to learn in my professional career is how to let go. Um, how to let go of maybe preconceived notions about what I think I should be doing with my life and my career. Um, letting go of the fear of potentially doing something different that I'd never considered but might like. I've had a couple of conversations over the course of the last 2 weeks, and I'm starting to slowly maybe break out of my shell a little bit. I mentioned in one of those conversations that I had always assumed that in order to be quote unquote safe at work, you had to work for a large organization, you had to work for a big company that had a very matrixed structure. And somehow I equated the size of the company or its brand with security and comfort. And I think in some cases that was true. But then when I look at the things that I've been involved in, um, it hasn't always played out that way. And I think I, in the past, have been maybe willing to dismiss some of that or to say, well, it may not be secure, it may not be safe, but it's still safer than something else that's out there. And I think what I've learned, and again, it's taken me a long time to realize this, is that's not always the case. And your perceived security in a work relationship does not necessarily exist. And that sounds like a negative, but in reality, it's a positive for me because I think it's opening me up to potentially doing different things now that I'm at this transitional period in my career. So for me personally, that's been inspiring. It's been a big learning moment for me, and I think will help me then move forward from this transition in a positive and healthy way.
I love that. I think that there's a lot to be learned from that. And I work with a lot of young kids, this next generation coming through, and they don't have that same burden of responsibility
Hmm.
and the same way that it shows up. And so some people might even say like they're not loyal or um, they hop around. And I just see it differently. And I love that you're seeing that perspective too, because it's a freedom.
Hmm.
It's a freedom to do what you want to do and to be true to your boundaries and be true to what makes you excited without having to give stuff up for this career
Yep.
that we have put certain stock in.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I think it is a freeing moment. It's a moment that I think, to your point, changes my perception of people who do that. It's not necessarily that I'm just always hopping around because I want the next big thing. It's maybe I'm hopping around because I'm trying to find something that fits with me and fits with who I am. And what I was in isn't the thing. And so the days of saying, I'm going to stick with this one thing, even though I might be somewhat miserable during that thing, it's just not okay anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so a different way of looking at things.
I love it. It's awesome to spend time talking with you and building this time into our schedule so that we can save our stories and our perspectives. It definitely creates a closeness, improved communication, and relationships grow when you spend time actually having conversations with the person that you are in a relationship with.
Yeah, I agree. I think you always, that's a broad word, but you frequently talk about connection and the importance of connection. And I think this is just one way to help us stay connected. And I think over the course of your marriage, sometimes it's easy to lose those stories. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to remember those stories and remember how we felt during those times and what it taught us or what it led us to. And that all kind of circles back to keeping us more closely connected. So I love it.
Yeah, I was reflecting on why we're doing this as a podcast, and I recognize that there's a lot of people that were my mentors as a young parent,
Mm,
and I look to them now, and most of them are no longer married.
yeah.
Most of them are they've had major life changes, and worlds have gone different directions, which is great and good for them. But I'm happy being married. I'm happy that we have figured this out. It hasn't always been easy. And I think that we have a lot to share in that regard. And so I love that we can dedicate this time and maybe help other people to continue to grow their marriages, but also, especially for our boys as they're starting out in their big relationships, that maybe there are questions and conversations that they are willing to have, and we can model those for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think bookmark for a later conversation is to talk about how we as a team function during some of our most challenging, trying, gut-wrenching times. And I think sometimes we take a lot of pride in that, and I think rightly so. I think we come out of those stronger as a couple and hopefully come out of those stronger as a family as well. So
Most
interesting
days.
to explore
Yeah.
that. Most days.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, honey.
Yeah.
Today we told the story of how we met and we laughed about those different memories. We teased a couple episodes that will be coming up.
Indeed. Um, I think my favorite piece of the conversation today is just that I can go back to the moment on the boat. I can see which direction I was facing. I can see the weather. I can see the water and the so you're Tim Waters. It will never leave me. I may forget a bunch of other things about our relationship, but I will never forget that moment. And that to me is a great opportunity for me to, keep that thing close to my heart. And that's valuable. So
So every week we'll share a story like that. We'll answer some fun questions and give you a little prompt to take home.
indeed. So this week, we would love for that question to be, what's a story from early in your relationship that the two of you love telling over and over? What is that moment for you that becomes folklore in your marriage that you want to make sure that you hang on to, and that really defines maybe who you are and how you exist in your relationship? So if you like today, like it, subscribe, and share it with somebody that you'd love to swap stories with. Doesn't necessarily have to be a formal relationship. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a sibling that you want to engage with around stories that are common to you. So
Awesome. Thanks, honey. Thanks, everybody.
thanks, everybody.
We'll talk soon.
Oh, oh.